Your why, a lot of times it's family, it's children, and that's not discomfort or pain, but the discomfort or pain is typically that you're not fulfilling some part of your current life with what you're currently doing. And that's why you're wanting to change. That's the whole point of this whole thing is you're going down a path that you've realized is not the path that's leading you where you want to be in the time that it would take you to get there. That's where I found myself in my late 30s. We were doing fine. We were making money, but I was headed down a path that I could see where I was heading, and that's not the direction I wanted to go. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Freedom Factory. First of all, yes, I am a day or so late. I typically try and get these to you every Monday. But speaking frankly, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see in the background, this is not my office. This is not my house, but there is water back there. Let's see. No, that's not the, let's do it this way. We're up scalloping. We're up in Homosassa, Florida. I did a weekend with the fam and friends scalloping, and Monday was a spearfishing day, so did not get to do the recording in time. But here we are, and I'm glad you guys are here. I'm glad you guys are like a faithful crowd, faithful attendee to these podcasts that we do. So today's topic is going to be about your why. And I know right off the top, a lot of people, when you hear that, maybe you roll your eyes, you think, oh, yeah, sure, my why. It gets kind of philosophical. It gets kind of deep, doesn't it? Like when you start thinking about your why, I think a lot of people don't really spend much time working on this because first, it takes time. It's not something you can just do in a couple minutes. It also is attached usually, and here's one of the keys for the whole podcast. It's usually attached to discomfort or pain. And so most people avoid that. Your why, a lot of times it's family, it's children, and that's not discomfort or pain, but the discomfort or pain is typically that you're not fulfilling some part of your current life with what you're currently doing. And that's why you're wanting to change. That's the whole point of this whole thing is you're going down a path that you've realized is not the path that's leading you where you want to be in the time that it would take you to get there. That's where I found myself in my late 30s. We were doing fine. We were making money, but I was headed down a path that I could see where I was heading, and that's not the direction I wanted to go. And so I had to come to grips with kind of the reality that I had made a mistake, basically. And that's probably where a lot of you guys are. And it's not associated necessarily with the amount of money you make. So many people, they put this correlation together of if you're successful with money. And that has something to do with it, but not everything to do with it. In fact, I have said many times that once you're making more money than what you need to live, like I guess you have extra, right? Money becomes less important to most people. There are some people that are just driven by money and how much they can make. That is not me, and maybe not you. Money is a tool. Money is just a tool that allows you to do what you want to do. So some people are just driven in business and they just continually driving, and they're not driving they're driving because that's what makes them is driving growth, change. And so for a lot of people though, you're in a position where you're making money, but you're not happy. That's the point. You're making money, but you're not happy, and you want to be happy. And so in order for something to change, you have to change. And that's what this podcast is about, is helping you through that change. And a way to help you through that change is clearly identifying what you need to change and why you need to change it. The why is typically what you're missing out on. I'm too busy on the weekends. I'm too busy at night. I'm working all day and all night. I don't have a meaningful relationship with my partner, my kids, my family. I don't get to enjoy what I've built. I mean, I'm just throwing these things out there because it's what you're normally hearing, right? I speak from my own personal experience. When I made this change to this business model in 2009, it was not money. It was very much the frustration of what I was having to do for work. I did not like my work anymore, and I was spending 5 to 6 days a week doing it. The majority of my life, work-wise, hour-wise, I wasn't enjoying. That's not the way to go through life, especially when you're in the prime of your life. And that was the change for me. Like, while I'm in the prime of my life, I would like to be able to do more things that I want to do, not just work, especially at something that I don't like doing. So I had to change. And that's where the pain comes in. It's painful to change. And so I'm saying all of this, guys, to say your reason to do something, your reason to change, your why needs to be bigger than your why not. So many people don't have the why. They don't have the real attachment to why they need to change. Sometimes it's too late. I see this with people with their health. They know they need to change their diet. They know they need to get serious about what they're doing with their body, but they put it off until it's too late. And sometimes very seriously too. But let's kind of transition from health to your time or your finance, right? So many people know they need to change, but they're not changing because it's not so bad yet. And usually it's when it's painful, like they get fired or there's a financial crisis. And that's what happened to us in 2008, 2009. The financial crisis, while it didn't cripple us financially, it definitely was a significant enough event. It caused enough pain in my life that I knew I needed to change. And so that's when I found this business model. And then I was told I needed to figure out my why. And I'm like, what are you talking about, your why? And so, guys, it's extremely important that you figure this out. Why do you need to change? And the pain of not accomplishing the why. Let's say you want to spend more time with your family. That's why you want to do this. It's time freedom. The pain of not having time freedom, pain of missing out things with your wife or your husband or your partner, pain of not getting to be a part of your kids' significant events in their life. Because that isn't important. If you've got kids, that's like a short period of life, and it's a maybe the most important years of your life. The pain of missing that has to be big and more painful than the pain of change. And most people don't put those two things together. Pain of changing, meaning getting uncomfortable, doing the things that you've never done before, having to learn new techniques, new skills, having to become vulnerable to your friends. And that's a tough one for the guys. Women usually have a little bit less problem with that. But for guys, a lot of the reasons why guys don't do network marketing is because their ego is too big. Guys are just different, right? They don't want to look weak. They don't want to look inferior. And so they put on this persona as a protection. And the reality is they're suffering internal. And so it's tough to be able to tell people or to open up to people and say, hey, I need change. That's why I'm doing this. But if you don't do that, then one, you're never going to change. And two, you're probably not going to be able to connect with other people who are going through the same thing. They're just not willing to admit it. So you could also look at it this way from a visual. Let's say you're in your backyard and you're sitting down next to a fence. Well, the fence let's say, is the problem of the obstacle or your pain. Okay. Let's say beyond the fence, there's a mountain. All right. Now, if the mountain is tall enough, you'll still be able to see it, even though you're sitting close to the fence, because the mountain is that much big. Okay. If you can't, and sometimes you have to step back, you have to move away from the fence, move away from the problem, move away from the obstacle so that you can see the goal. You can see what you're choosing to go after. And so many people are so close to their problem and so consumed with their problem that that's all they see, and they can't see the goal. So for all of you, I'm asking you to step back a little bit. Step back and realize that, number one, your goal, your reason for doing this has to be bigger than the obstacle. Like, the mountain has to be taller than the fence. The fence is what's keeping you locked in. The mountain has to be taller and more visual, has to be bigger. And for all of you, that's what you need to do. You need a why that's so big. You need a goal that's so big that no matter where you look, you're not fenced in. You're not seeing the obstacle. All you're seeing is the goal, the reason, the why for doing. If you guys can do that, all the other things become insignificant. What your friends think, what they say, your own self-doubt, all of that becomes insignificant if your goal, if your why is big enough. And it all comes down to pain and pleasure. Most people are not willing to go through the pain of change, and that's why they stay stuck. But there's so many cliches I can give you guys. Like, the one that's coming to mind right now is choose your hard. You can choose hard now so that you can have easy later, or you can choose easy now, but it's going to be hard later. I chose hard now, and I'm glad I did, because it is easier now for our family. Another example, guys, I'm recording this right now on a Tuesday. I'm a day late. And I'm in this rented Airbnb house, nice house on the water, and the weather's bad. I have to, in fact, I'm just going to show you. That one is my boat. You can't see it. Wait a second. Let's just do this for my YouTube friends. Go here. So there you go. Now you can see it. The boat on the lift is the homeowners. The boat floating out there, it's ours. Now, I'm a little kind of stuck in this Airbnb because the weather's bad. We got marine weather warnings here today. Thunderstorms, 30-knot winds. I don't want to be captaining the boat home. We're about 2.5 hours north of our house. I'm telling you that because while I don't want to be here, I'm still able to conduct business and do business because I have the freedom to do that now. Whereas in the past, I would be in a real problem. Staying in a place longer than I need to stay, that's going to cost you money. Away from employees, away from work, stuck, in other words, right? But I'm not stuck now. I'm not stuck because I'm not handcuffed to that old way of earning money. Perfect example of pain and pleasure. I went through the pain years ago so that I can have the pleasure, the easy now. This is easy. Air conditioned, I had my coffee, had a nice breakfast, caught up, letting the weather go by. This is easy because I did the hard. A lot of you have to go through the hard. And in order to go through the hard, you've got to have a clear why. And the why is probably your family. And that's why I always tell people, like, you can't quit this because it's like quitting on your family. And if it's not this, whatever it is that you're using, whatever vehicle you're using to get free, whatever vehicle you're using to get to your goals, there's going to be difficult things. And those things, the difficulty of that cannot be more significant or more painful than the pain of missing out on the big goal, the big why, your kids, your children, your wife, your family, your time, your health, all those things. Those things have to be bigger than what people will think about you, what they will say about you, the what if this doesn't happen, the what if that doesn't happen. Stop worrying about the what ifs. That's as Jim Rohn said, that's the language of the poor. Well, what if that happens? What if I fail? What if no one shows up? Well, what if you don't try? Because I can promise you, if you don't try, that pain is not a pain you want to see. That is a very difficult thing to do, to get to a point in life where now you maybe don't have the health, don't have the time left, and you're still unhappy. Do the work now, but identify your why. And if you're having a hard time doing it, start putting pen to paper. Start putting on paper all of the things you're not able to do that you would like to do. And then start putting a timeline to it. Like, I'm going to, by this time, in this many months or this many years, this is going to change. And then I want you to keep that visible to you, just like the mountain. If you live near mountains, you can't escape them. You're always able to see them. All you got to do is look up and you can see them. That's how clearly this needs to be. You need to have notes in your kitchen, in your bedroom, in your car, in your workspace, your why. Why am I doing this? Constant reminders, so that when you're experiencing the pain, the pain of maybe having to do the calls you don't want to do the meetings you don't want to do, invest the time in the trainings you don't want to do, people talking about you, all those things that are going to happen, that pain has to be less harmful than not accomplishing your why, not accomplishing the goal. This is huge, guys, in order for you to succeed. It's why most people don't succeed, is they don't clearly identify this. They don't put pen to paper. They don't get it visual because they really don't want to think about it. They don't want to think that they're 10 years in as an adult, 20 years in, 30 years in as an adult, living on their own, and they're still in a position that they don't like. But the great thing is you can change, and it can change quick, guys. For my wife and I, it changed in 17 months. 17 months, everything changed for us. Because we picked a business model that we think is one of the best business models in the world. And we had good mentors, good people feeding us with what we needed, and we were able to succeed. And that's what I want for you guys. We've never talked about the why before, but it's huge, and your why is going to change. So once you accomplish our why, once we accomplished what we wanted 17 months in, it had to change because we accomplished it, right? We had that first stage. There's a second stage and a third stage. A lot of my why now is that I want all of you to be able to get to a point where you're happy where you're at. And I want all of you to know that there's another way. There's another model. The model of trading time for money, like as an employee, or even being self-employed with typical employees. Very, very few people are ever able to use that model to get true freedom mentally and financially and health-wise. Because in those models, you don't have leverage. And you're handcuffed by the people that work for you. You're handcuffed by the region you live in. You know, even if you got a big business, a lot of you are probably, the business is just in one city or one state. What if there's, disasters there? What if there's floods? And I mean, I could go on and on this podcast, guys, but I love our business model, obviously. And I want all of you to succeed. Now, I know not all of you will, but I also know that not everybody that goes to college graduates. I also know not everyone that goes to high school gets all A+. I know not everyone that starts a business sticks with it. That's life, but it doesn't have to be your life. Speaking to all of you, but there's some of you here that are going to hear this, and you're going to understand it's time. It's time for me to have the big goal, to have my why, tell other people what my why is, declare it, and then go execute on it. That's what I want. So you guys, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Hope it was helpful. I hope you guys choose hard now so it's easy later. That's my hope. You guys have a great week. We'll talk to you next week. And next week we'll be on time on Monday. Promise. See ya.